You ever notice how the harder you chase something, the faster it runs away? That's not just true for success or happiness. It's especially true when it comes to attraction. Today, I'm going to show you why everything you've been taught about winning someone over is backwards, and how ancient Stoic philosophy holds the key to becoming genuinely magnetic to others. Stay with me, because this isn't what you think. Let me tell you something that might sting a little. When you're trying to make someone want you, you've already lost. I know that sounds harsh, but here's the truth. The moment you put your happiness in someone else's hands, you become less attractive. Not because there's something wrong with you, but because you've given away your power. The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the opinion of others should never dictate your worth. Yet most people spend their entire lives seeking validation from others, especially romance. Here's what actually happens when you chase. You signal to the other person that they are more valuable than you. You communicate that your time, your attention, your very presence is worth less than theirs. And humans, whether we like to admit it or not, are wired to recognize value. When you act desperate, you lower your perceived value. When you act abundant, you raise it. This isn't manipulation. This is the Stoic secret to magnetic attraction. Simple human psychology that the Stoics recognized centuries before modern science caught up. So, what's the alternative? It starts with a concept the Stoics called self-sufficiency. Epictetus taught that you should never depend on external things for your happiness. That includes other people. Now, before you think this sounds cold or unloving, understand what it really means. Self-sufficiency doesn't mean you don't care about others. It means you don't need others to complete you. You're already complete. And that completeness is what makes you magnetic. Think about someone you know who seems effortlessly attractive, not just physically, but in the way they carry themselves. Chances are they don't seem to need anyone's approval. They're comfortable alone. They have their own interests, their own goals, their own life that they genuinely enjoy. That's not an accident. That's the power of self-sufficiency and action. When you stop needing someone to want you, you become someone worth wanting. Now, let's talk about the first principle. Control what you can control, release what you can't. This is the foundation of Stoic philosophy, and it's critical when it comes to attraction. You cannot control whether someone likes you. You cannot control their thoughts, their feelings, their past experiences that shape how they see you. You can spend endless energy trying to say the right thing, wear the right clothes, be the right person, and still, they might not be why you lose when you try to win. Interested. That's not a failure on your part. That's just reality. But here's what you can control. Your own character, your own growth, your own presence. When you focus all your energy on becoming the best version of yourself, something interesting happens. You stop caring so much whether any one person is interested, because you know your value isn't determined by their opinion. And paradoxically, that's when people start noticing you. Not because you're playing games, but because you've become genuinely attractive. Let me give you a real example. Think about someone who just got out of a long relationship. Often, they'll jump right into trying to meet someone new. They're texting constantly, going on dates, desperately trying to fill the void. And it never works well. Why? Because they're operating from scarcity. They need Principle 1, control what you can, the foundation. Someone to make them feel whole again. Now, contrast that with someone who takes time after a breakup to rediscover themselves. They focus on their hobbies, their friendships, their personal goals. 6 months later, they're not even looking, and suddenly, people are drawn to them. That's the power of focusing on what you can control. The second principle is this. Indifference is attractive, but neediness is repellent. Now, I need to be careful here because indifference doesn't mean being cold or dismissive. It means emotional independence. It means you can genuinely enjoy someone's company without needing them to fill some void in your life. The Stoics practiced what they called negative visualization. They would imagine losing the things they valued most, not to be pessimistic, but to appreciate them more fully and to prepare themselves emotionally. Apply this to relationships. If you can genuinely imagine your life without a particular person and know you'd still be okay, you remove the desperation from your interactions. You stop texting 3 times when they haven't responded. You stop analyzing every word they say for hidden meaning. You stop performing for their approval. Instead, you just show up as yourself. And that authenticity is magnetic because it's so rare. I knew someone who was interested in a colleague at work. For months, he tried everything. He'd bring her coffee, compliment her constantly, always be available to help with projects. She was polite, but clearly not interested. Then he stopped, not as a strategy, but because he genuinely redirected that energy into his own work and personal projects. He started a side business. He took up photography. He stopped being constantly available. And within 2 months, she started initiating conversations with him. She asked him about his projects. She suggested they grab coffee. What changed? He stopped needing her attention, and that shift in energy was palpable. The third principle is about outcome independence. This is a Stoic concept that says you should focus on your actions, not the results. You do what's right because it's right, not because you're guaranteed a specific principle. 2. Emotional independence versus neediness outcome. In attraction, this means you interact with someone because you genuinely enjoy the interaction, not because you're trying to engineer a specific response. Here's the difference. Outcome dependence sounds like this. I'll ask her out, and if she says yes, I'll be happy. If she says no, I'll be devastated. My emotional state depends entirely on her response. Outcome independence sounds like this. I'm interested in getting to know her better. I'll ask her out. If she says yes, great, we'll have a good time. If she says no, that's okay too. I'm still the same valuable person. Either way, see the difference? One approach gives all the power to the other person. The other keeps your power intact. When you're outcome independent, rejection doesn't shake you because your self-worth isn't on the line. You're simply offering someone the opportunity to get to know you. If they take it, excellent. If they don't, you move on without a second thought. And here's the beautiful irony. When you genuinely don't need a yes, you're far more likely to get one because you're relaxed, confident, authentic. You're not performing or trying too hard. You're just being. The fourth principle is about presence and attention. The Stoics believed in being fully present in each moment. Marcus Aurelius wrote about not letting your mind wander to the past or future, but to focus completely on what's in front of you. This is powerful in human connection. Most people are terrible at being present. They're thinking about what they'll say next, checking their phone, worrying about how they're being perceived. When you're truly present with someone, they feel it, and it's intoxicating. Here's how this looks in practice. When you're with someone, give them your full attention. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because you're genuinely interested in what they're saying. Listen without planning your response. Ask questions. Principle 3, the power of outcome independence. Because you actually want to know the answers. Notice the small details about them. This level of presence is rare, and when someone experiences it, they remember you. They want more of that feeling. But here's the key. You can only be truly present when you're not anxious about the outcome. If you're constantly wondering whether they like you, whether you're saying the right things, whether this will lead somewhere, you cannot be present. So it all comes back to that core Stoic principle. Focus on what you control, which is your own presence and attention. Release what you don't control, which is their response. The fifth principle is what I call strategic withdrawal. The Stoics taught that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. In relationships, attraction. This means knowing when to step back, not as a manipulation tactic, but as a way to maintain your own center. When you notice you're becoming too invested too quickly, you pull back. You redirect your energy to other areas of your life. You create space. This serves two purposes. First, it prevents you from becoming needy or overwhelming. Second, it gives the other person room to miss you. When you're always available, always reaching out, always there, you become like background noise. But when you have your own life, your own interests, your own schedule, you become more interesting. People wonder what you're up to. They notice when you're not around. I'm not talking about playing hard to get or ignoring someone to make them chase you. That's childish and it backfires. I'm talking about genuinely having a full life that doesn't revolve around Principle 4. Presence and the rare art of listening any one person. The Stoics called this maintaining your inner citadel, your core self that remains stable regardless of external circumstances. When you have that, you can engage with others from a place of strength rather than need. Here's a real situation. You meet someone and there's chemistry. You have a great conversation. Then you start texting. If you're needy, you'll text constantly. You'll wait anxiously for responses. You'll feel disappointed when they take hours to reply. But if you have strategic withdrawal, you text when you genuinely have something to say. Then you put your phone away and live your life. You're not waiting for their response because you're busy with things that matter to you. See the difference in energy? The sixth principle is about cultivating abundance. This is both practical and psychological. The Stoics believed in focusing on what you have rather than what you lack. In modern terms, we call this an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. If you believe there's only one person for you, you'll be desperate to hold on to anyone who shows interest. But if you believe there are many potential connections in the world, you can relax. This doesn't mean you don't value the person in front of you. It means you don't put them on a pedestal. You see them as a human being with flaws and strengths, not as your only chance at happiness. And ironically, when you stop treating someone like they're your last hope, they feel less pressure. They can relax around you. The connection becomes easier, more natural. Practically, this means you should actually cultivate abundance in your life. Don't put all your social eggs in one basket. Have friends, hobbies, goals that energize you. Meet new people regularly, not to replace someone you're interested in, but to remind yourself that the world is full of interesting humans. When you have genuine abundance in your life, you stop clinging. And when you stop clinging, you become magnetic. Think about it this way. Imagine someone who has no friends, no hobbies, nothing going on in their life. Then they meet you, and suddenly you're their entire world. How does that feel? Suffocating right now. Imagine someone who has a rich, full life, great friends, interesting projects, passions they pursue. But they make time for you because they genuinely enjoy your company. Which person would you be more interested in? The answer is obvious. Now, let's address something important. Some people hear this advice and think it means you should be cold, distant, or play games. That's the opposite of what I'm saying. The Stoics weren't cold. They valued deep relationships and genuine connection. But they knew those things couldn't be forced. Or, Principle 5, strategic withdrawal, not playing games, manufactured through manipulation. Real attraction comes from being a complete, self-sufficient person who chooses to share their life with someone, not someone who needs another person to feel complete. So, how do you actually apply this? Start with yourself. Ask yourself honestly, am I trying to get this person to like me because I genuinely enjoy them, or because I need validation? Am I trying to fill a void in my life? Am I basing my self-worth on their response to me? If the answer to any of these is yes, you need to step back and work on yourself first, not as a strategy to attract them, but because you owe it to yourself to be whole. Work on your goals. The Stoics believed in continuous self-improvement. What are you working toward in your life? What excites you? What challenges you? When you're genuinely focused on becoming better, you don't have time to obsess over whether someone likes you. And that focus makes you attractive because it shows you value yourself enough to invest in your own growth. Build a life you love. This is crucial. You should be living a life where your default state is contentment, not loneliness or dissatisfaction. If you're only happy when someone is interested in you, you've built your happiness on sand. But if you wake up excited about your day, your work, your hobbies, your friendships, then another person becomes an addition to your life, not the foundation of it. Practice emotional independence. This is hard. It means you don't let someone else's mood dictate yours. If they're distant, you don't spiral into anxiety. If they're Principle 6, cultivating genuine abundance, warm, you don't get overly attached. You maintain your own emotional center. The Stoics practice this through daily reflection and mindfulness. You can do the same. Notice when you're giving your power away to someone else's opinion or behavior, then consciously reclaim it. Be honest and direct. This might seem contradictory to everything I've said, but it's not. The Stoics valued truth above all else. If you're interested in someone, you can tell them, but you do it from a place of strength, not need. You're not asking permission to feel good about yourself. You're simply stating a fact and inviting them to join you. If they say no, you accept it gracefully and move on, because your value doesn't depend on their answer. Here's what that looks like. Instead of dancing around your interest, dropping hints, trying to manipulate them into asking you out, you simply say something like this. I enjoy talking with you, and I'd like to take you to dinner. Are you interested? Simple, direct, confident. If they say yes, great. If they say no, you say, okay, no problem. And you genuinely mean it because you were outcome independent from the start. Let me share one final insight. The reason Stoicism works so well for attraction isn't because it's a manipulation tactic. It's because it makes you genuinely attractive as a human being. When you're self-sufficient, when you have your own goals and passions, when you're emotionally independent, when you can be fully present with someone without needing anything from them, you become the kind of person others want to be around. Not just romantically, but in all areas of life. The woman or man who isn't interested in you today isn't a failure on your part. They're just someone who isn't aligned with you right now. And that's okay, because you have a full life that doesn't depend on any one person's approval. You keep moving forward, keep growing, keep becoming the best version of yourself. And in that process, you naturally attract people who appreciate who you are. This is the paradox of attraction. The less you need it, the more you get it. The less you chase, the more people come to you. The more complete you are alone, the better your relationships become. The Stoics understood this. They knew that external validation was fleeting and unreliable, but internal strength, self-knowledge, and virtue were permanent and powerful. So, where does this leave you? It leaves how to reclaim your power today, you with a choice. You can continue chasing validation from others, basing your worth on whether someone texts you back or shows interest. Or you can do the harder but more rewarding work of building a life you genuinely love, becoming emotionally independent, and attracting others from a place of abundance rather than need. I know which path leads to real happiness, and I know which path the Stoics would recommend. The question is, which path will you choose? If this resonated with you, do me a favor. Hit that like button because it tells me this content is helping you. More importantly, leave a comment below. Tell me what part of this video hit home for you. Tell me about a time when you've seen these principles play out in your own life. I read every comment and I want to hear your perspective. And if you're serious about applying Stoic wisdom to your daily life, subscribe to this channel. We're building a community of people who are committed to growth, self-mastery, and living with purpose. Click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video, because next time I'm going to show you the Stoic approach to handling rejection in a way that actually makes you stronger. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next.